Check 1 2.
Check, check. Test 1 2, scheduling meeting, test. Test 1 2, test.
Scheduling meeting. Sound check. Sound check. Good. Okay. All right. put this one here. There's one here too, Connie. Mrs. Rutherford. I have this one too. No. Just,
Okay.
I'll try to be loud enough for everybody. Right here? Okay. Yeah. For those of you that are listening on YouTube right now, there's a few more people that are filing into the cafeteria. We'll just give them a couple minutes to get situated and we'll get going. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Can you turn that down so I can't hear it? It is 7 o'clock. We've got about 45 families watching on YouTube. We've got about 45 families here, so that constitutes just about 90% of the class of 2026. 2 years ago, we did all of this in the gym. Last year, we did all of this on YouTube. This year, we're trying to split it and do the best for both. So I'm going to try to talk loud enough that you can hear me here in person, as well as not scream at the people here. I've got a mic sitting here and then a mic on this as well. I guarantee you we're not going to take until 8:15, so that'll be good. Get you out here before that. But I want to go over everything that you need to know in order to do the first steps of scheduling and to make sure that you're on track when you come to the high school to graduate 4 years from now. Right? The graduation requirements continue to change from the state of Ohio. So I want to make sure that you are up to date on all the changes and how that impacts current 8th graders as we go forward. Okay. So Mr. Keeper is here running the camera. My name is Andrew Heminger. I'm one of the 2 counselors at the high school. Mrs. Schusler is the other counselor at the high school. If If your last name is A through K, you will be with Mrs. Schussler. If your last name is L through Z, you will be with me when you get to the high school next year. If I pause, it's just because I'm making sure the cameras and stuff are good. Good. He's going to try to zoom as much as he can for people on YouTube. Mrs. Rutherford is here, your middle school counselor. And as I said, this is Mr. Keeper, the high school principal, standing here, working the camera. Mrs. Schussler is watching on YouTube, so if anything that I say is incorrect, she will text me and let me know, and I'll get it fixed. So let's start. The number one goal that we want is for you to understand high school graduation requirements. We want to make sure that as things change, you're aware of them and how that impacts students. So we'll talk about that first. Then we'll talk second goal for tonight, starting the process of scheduling for your high school career. So let's talk first about what it takes to graduate from high school now. This is everybody in the class of 2023 and beyond. So this is the class of 2026. So currently this applies to the class of 26. There are 4 main requirements in order to graduate. As always, credits are a part of that. So students have to have credits. They have to have 2 test scores in the class of 2026. We'll talk about that in a minute. You'll have to have 16 volunteer service hours as part of a local seal. 16 volunteer service hours has been in place for a long time. I'll explain how that works. And then everyone will have to earn at least one of the 9 state seals from the state of Ohio. So those are the 4 tenets that you need to graduate. When we talk about credits specifically, everybody, I think every family should have a packet, that 5-page packet that Mrs. Rutherford handed out at the door. So when we're looking at credits, 21.5 credits is the minimum that you need in order to graduate. So if you look on page 3 of that packet, it should look like a check sheet. There should be a bunch of boxes there. And you will see that not only do you have to have 21.5 credits, but they have to come in the right areas. So you have to have 4 English, 4 math, 3 science, 3 social studies, 2 PE, 2 semesters of PE, 1 semester of health, a fine art credit, a semester of financial literacy, and then a bunch of electives. So that should fill up all of those boxes. So a lot of people will graduate somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 to 30 credits. Most of the time you're getting 6 credits per year, 6 times 4. Most everybody, if you don't fail any classes, will be at least 24 credits by the time you graduate. If eventually you're in College Credit Plus and you add some more credits that way, or if you decide not to take study halls, some people end up graduating with over 30. So 21.5 is the requirement by Eastwood. It is not extremely taxing in terms of if you pass classes, you will be in good shape. And so if you in the future want to look and say, here's kind of a check sheet for me to plan, page 3 is where you could use that to say, hey, here's what I'm kind of looking at going forward. The second thing toward graduation are test scores. Our previous students, if you had a student who just graduated or is a senior this year, they've had to go through a different system than what this class has to go through. You can look at that good or bad. This is kind of a perspective. For you, you will have to take an Algebra 1 test, an air test, and you'll have to take an English 10 test. English 10 will be at the end of your sophomore year, and I'll talk about in a little bit when you will take the algebra test. If you are somebody who is already in algebra this year because you're in an advanced class, you'll take the air test at the end of this year. You'll very likely be in good shape with that requirement. But I will speak more about this in a little bit. Those 2 tests, you have to get what is a 684 to be what is called competent by the state of Ohio in order to meet that for graduation. Okay, so I'll talk about algebra in just a little bit. But credits and test scores, that's 1 and 2. Everybody has to have 16 volunteer service hours or more in order to graduate. The state of Ohio recently, in the last couple of years, put what is called a local seal and a state seal that everybody must attain. So our Board of Education said we already require volunteer service hours as a path of graduation. We are going to make that our local seal. So those 16 hours that you have to have for graduation are what fulfill the local seal from the state. Right? So those 16 hours are non-negotiable. If you want to be recognized at graduation, you can see up there in the corner that if you have 50 or more volunteer service hours, you are specially recognized on the graduation stage. Okay? But 16 is the minimum. So that's part 3. Part 4 is the state seal. If you look on page 4 of that packet that you have, that tells you just about everything when it comes to the state seals. It shows you all 9 of them from the state of Ohio, and it shows you how you earn those seals. At this point, for you as current 8th graders, we are not particularly concerned about those seals because a lot of those seals will take care of themselves as we go along. So I want you to be aware that you have to earn at least 1 state seal, but at this point, we're not particularly concerned. We just want to make sure that you have the information before you get started with high school. So there are 9 of them there. Each one of them has their own little logo that's listed below. And then you will see below that is the local seal, which I just said is the 16 volunteer service hours. And then at the bottom of that page, it gives you an overview of those 4 things that you need to graduate. Right? So it's 21.5 credits in the right areas. It's getting the needed score on an Algebra 1 test and an English 10 test. It's getting 16 volunteer service hours, and it's getting 1 state seal. Those are the 4 things for graduation. I didn't like my font here, so it just was supposed to say schedule. For you as 8th graders, 4 of your 7 classes next year are pretty much already decided. We just don't know the order of them. Right? So everybody's got to take English, math, science, social studies. Some of you are going to take honors, some of you are going to take regular, some of you are going to be advanced in math, some of you are going to take Algebra A. But all of you are going to take English, math, science, and social studies. So when you look at this, you're either going to take, very simply, English 9 with Mrs. Howard, or Honors English 9 with Mrs. Howard. Right, so we'll talk about teacher recommendations in a little bit, but these will be your options that you'll see on the Google form when it comes to English. In science, you'll have either Science 9 or you'll have Honors Biology 1. There's not a whole heck of a lot of options when you're a freshman. So it'll be one of those 2. For social studies, it'll either be World History with Mrs. Blosman, or it'll be Honors World History with Mrs. Blosman. So those 3 cores are pretty basic. It's either the regular class or the honors class. I saved math as the 4th core because it is the one that you'll probably need to think about the most, because it will depend what you take next year as to when you will take the Algebra 1 test that you need for graduation. So if you are somebody who is not particularly great at math, there are a lot of us that are not particularly great at math. If you take Algebra A, you will get a full credit, full high school credit, but you will not take the algebra test until the end of your sophomore year. So you will take Algebra A as a freshman, and then take Algebra B as a sophomore, and then take the Algebra 1 test at the end of your 2nd year of high school. If you are somebody who is pretty good at math, and you opt to go to Algebra 1, you will take the AIR Algebra 1 test at the end of your freshman year of high school. And if you're somebody who is going into geometry or honors geometry, and you're already in algebra now, you're going to take the AIR test this year. And so really it comes down to, for a lot of people, are you going to take Algebra A or Algebra 1? And we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to recommendation. But it really depends then on how confident you feel about when you take that test, whether it's the end of your 1st year or the end of your 2nd year. The state of Ohio says that everybody has to take 1 semester of high school health and 2 semesters of high school PE. 1 semester of high school health equals a half credit. Each semester of PE equals a quarter credit. I didn't come up with it. Just so you know, 1 semester of health, 2 semesters of PE. Most people take some combination of health and PE when they're a freshman because you know that you're going to have to do it. Some people are going to get into college credit plus. Some people are going to go to Penna. Some people are going to have schedules that they want to take more electives later. So most of the time, people take a health and a PE, or PE and PE, or health and some combination of it when they're freshmen. There are some unique circumstances to that. If you are somebody that we know you're going to take 4 cores, and then you also are somebody that wants to get to German 4 or Spanish 4, and you can't afford to not take that as a freshman, okay, so there's a foreign language, there's 5. Maybe you're somebody that's in ag, so you can't get to ag 4 if you don't take ag 1 as a freshman. So you're going to take ag 1, now you're at 6. And maybe you're somebody who's in band or choir, and that's 7. You go, well, I don't have room to take health and PE as a freshman because I've got to get these 4 cores and I need to start the pathway for these 3 electives. That's okay. We have people do that. That's fine. Eventually, those electives, your schedule will open up because you won't have to take as many cores as you go forward. Eventually, you'll still have to take health and PE. Okay, but if you're somebody that needs to take those electives to progress down that track, that's fine. Everybody in high school has to have a fine art credit, a full credit of a fine art. Your choices for that: art, band, choir, photography. It could be art, beginning art. It could be photography 1 and 2, band or choir. Everybody at some point has to earn a fine art credit. So if you're not somebody who is in band or choir, see where your options remain. You don't have to do this as a freshman. You just have to get one before you graduate. There is often some confusion about world language / foreign language. How many years do you need to graduate? The answer to that question is 0. In order to graduate, you do not have to have a foreign language. To graduate from high school, you have to take 0 credits of foreign language. If you're someone who's going to go on to a 4-year college, most colleges want you to take at least 2 years of a world language. Some will want you to take 3. So depending on what you think the future holds for you, probably determines where you want to be when it comes to Spanish or German. Okay. My voice is giving out on me a little bit. Okay, what electives are best for you? So as I said, 4 cores are already covered. So that takes up 4/7 of your schedule. Some of you already have a lot of these in mind, and this makes it real easy. Some of you are already in German 1 or Spanish 1, so that makes moving on real easy. Some of you in band, that makes it real easy. So hopefully a lot of your schedule is either predetermined for you or based on the choices that you know you want to go into are already going to be set up and good to go. Please note that some electives have after-school requirements. For example, band and choir have band and choir concerts. FFA has things that you have to attend as part of being a part of FFA. So that page 3 that I showed you a little bit ago with the check sheet, by the end of your freshman year, it'll probably look like this. If you pass all of your classes, you'll have 4 cores, you'll probably have some combination of health and PE, and you'll probably have some electives. If you would like, everybody can take 1 period for the year of study hall. We have 7 periods in each day. If you want to take 4 cores, you want to take PE and health, and you want to take 1 elective, and you want to take 1 study hall, and that fills your schedule, that's totally fine. You don't have to take a study hall, but you can take a study hall if you so choose. You can't have more than 1. there's a few things that I want to talk to you about that scheduling essentially connects with. If you are somebody who plays a sport, then your eligibility for this upcoming fall, whether it's cross country or football or soccer or volleyball, is connected to your fourth quarter grades here in 8th grade. So you need to make sure that you do well as we go through the last 12 weeks of school, so you're eligible according to the Ohio High School Athletic Association. By this upcoming fall, if you are somebody who is interested in going to Penn Career Center, you can apply to go to Penn Career Center as early as your sophomore year. We have some freshmen right now who have gone over for assessment for one day to see if Penn is a good fit for them. So that can start as early as your sophomore year that you would go to Penn. Some people go to the sophomore exploratory program. Some people wait and go as juniors. They have a couple of senior-only programs, but not many. So I would say the most amount of people go as juniors, a good amount of people go as sophomores, and a couple people go for their senior year only. In order to go to Penn, you have to have your core credits earned for your freshman year. If you don't have your core credits passed, Penta will say, we can't get you in here because we can't get you to graduate. So if you're not passing, they won't take you. I told you guys that were here, all the students who were here at lunch today when I talked to you, you have to have a 60% in order to be passing. Right? The D minus is a 60%. So if you have anything below a 60% and not passing, then Penta will say, I'm sorry, you don't have the credits we need, you can't come over. Some of you will want to earn an honors diploma. The state of Ohio says that in order to earn an honors diploma, you have to get at least 6 of these 7 things. So the green ones are kind of hard to read from far away. The first 2 are in green because you have to get those in order to graduate. So you're going to get those anyway. You have to get 4 math credits. You do that for graduation. You have to get a fine art credit. You do that for graduation. The third one is social studies. You have to take world history, American government, and financial lit, which is a half credit. So you get 3.5 towards the needed 4. For science, you get 3 toward the needed 4. You don't have to take a foreign language. The state of Ohio says that in order to meet that, you have to get 3 units of 1 foreign language. So if you took German 1, 2, and 3, Spanish 1, 2, and 3, or you can get 2 units of 2 languages, which is very rare. But if you were somebody that took Spanish 1 and 2 and then said, I'm going to go over to German and take German 1 and 2, you can meet the requirement that way as well. You have to get a 3.5 GPA on a 4-point scale. A lot of times people mess up weighted and unweighted. Okay, so right now at the high school, if you get an A+, you get 4.3 points for that A+. That's weighted. On an unweighted scale, the state makes us take away all of that weighting, and the highest you can have is a 4.0, not a 4.3. So in order to meet that one, you have to have a 3.5 on a 4.0 scale. And the hardest one to get is the ACT, which you have to get a 27 or above. The ACT is graded on a scale of 1 to 36. So to get a 27 is very good. It's in the top 13 to 15% of people are getting 27 or above. The average score on the ACT is about a 21. Okay? So those are the 7 things that you need to do. And you have to get 6 of them to earn an honors diploma.
Is this like an Eastwood thing, the graduating with honors, or is that a state?
That's a state thing. Yeah. That is the state's requirements of those 7 things that meet 6. Probably the most important thing that you're going to walk away from physically today, all of your teacher recommendations are up here that you're invited to take when you leave. But a couple things I want you to know about these teacher recommendations. Your current teachers really know you best in terms of where you're at academically. And last year we had a goofy year because of the hybrid schedule. The year before that, we had a goofy year because we got shut down the last 2 months for COVID. So your current teachers really know where you're at right now the best, because they're the last teacher that's gotten to see you for a full year here, for really 3 years. They see not only the capabilities, but your work ethic, skill level, how motivated you are, all those types of things. So the recommendations that they do are done really with your best interest at heart, because we want you to be placed where it's best for you. We don't want you to get into an honors class and you get in over your head and you really struggle. Right? We want you, and then you get into a class that's over your head because you're not ready for it, and then you don't pass the test for graduation. Right? So the teachers have made recommendations in the 4 core areas. That's what you'll see on the sheet up here. For each core, there'll be a recommendation. And that's based on what they see every day in the classroom. So for English, it'll say either 9 or it will say honors. What do you say? For math, it could be one of 4 things. It could say algebra A, it could say algebra 1, it could say geometry, or it could say honors geometry. Or for a couple of you, you're double grade level advanced in math, so it might say honors algebra 2, but only for maybe 2 of them. In history, it'll be world history or honors. And in science, it'll be science 9 or honors biology. Okay. So those are the things that you'll see on the recommendation sheet. Just the cores. If you are already in Spanish or German or band or choir, those teachers want you to continue in those subjects. They're just not on your recommendation sheet. Okay, so just because an elective is not there does not mean that you can't take it. So if you're somebody that wants to take ag, you're welcome to take ag. You don't have to have the recommendation to take that. Okay? The only recommendations that you're getting are for core classes. We are going to send out some videos after the presentation tonight from our elective teachers, from people like Mrs. Streeter, Mr. Bennett, Mrs. Delaney, people that have elective classes, and they're going to tell you in their own words a little bit more about those classes. If you look on the front page of that packet, you will see a QR code toward the bottom right-hand side. If you scan that QR code, it will take you to our course description guide. And it will show you every class that we have at Eastwood, and it'll give you more information about that particular class. All right, so that QR code will come in really handy for you. Years ago, I think we printed out course description guides, and they're 20 pages long. We'd spend 10,000 pages of paper, so now you can just scan the QR code and see it all right there in one document. So again, the only recommendations you're getting are cores. Doesn't mean that you can't take an elective just because there's not a recommendation. Now, I think this is self-explanatory, but you can't take Art 2 before you take Art 1. Okay? Simple things like that. Okay. This is going to be really hard for you guys to read from there. So what you're going to get today after this presentation is a Google form, and it's going to lay out scheduling, hopefully, really easily for you, subject by subject, and give you all the choices within that subject, so you can use your teacher recommendations and fill out this Google Doc, submit it to us, and you're done. The only thing that we need back from you, and it's going to be emailed to the student's account. So it'll go to the students in the class of 2026. Right? We need those students, and certainly you as parents, to work with them and submit that Google Doc, Google form, by this Friday, March 4th. Okay. So I want to explain to you a little bit how this Google form works. Again, I know it's really difficult to see because it's small and I can't blow it up any more than it is. So what it'll be is you'll get this email to you, and you'll see, all you got to do is put in your first and last name, you put in your lunch code, and then it'll start walking you through the core classes. So there'll be a pull down for English, and it will say, do you want to take English 9? Or do you want to take Honors English 9? In reference to your teacher recommendations, and you can make a selection. That'll be the same way with math, science, social studies, and then it will get you to our most needed, most popular electives initially. So the first one there is PE and health. And the options are, do I want to take PE semester 1, PE semester 2? Do I want to take health and PE? Do I want to take health but not PE? Do I want to take PE but not health? Or do I not want to take any PE and health at all as a freshman because I'm going to take some other electives? Okay, so all those options are there. You have to select one. It won't let you move on without doing it. Then it will come to world language. So it'll be Spanish 1, Spanish 2, German 1, German 2. If that's something you're interested in, you can fill which one is appropriate for you. If you're not somebody that wants to take a world language, at the 5th choice it says no language. No thanks. And you move on. The next one there, it'll say ag science. Do you want to take ag science 1? Or no, I don't want to take ag science. Do you want to take band? Do you want to take choir? Do you want to take no music? Pretty simple. Do you want to have a study hall? It says yes, no, or other. Yes is pretty self-explanatory. No is pretty self-explanatory. It says other because sometimes people pair those up with a semester-long class. So maybe you have an injury right now that you're not able to take PE until the 2nd semester. So you could use that study hall to pair up with 1 semester class. Or when we get to the electives, maybe you want to take a class that only lasts for 1 semester, like woodworking, and you want to pair that with a study hall. You can do that. So that's why the other is there under study hall. Then there will be a pull down that has all the elective choices that you have as freshmen. It will be potentially the most overwhelming thing that's on there. They are listed alphabetically. And when you see this, I think I'm trying to explain it and show it to you from a distance. I think you'll see it and it'll be much easier than the way I'm trying to present it to you here. You have to fill up 7 periods. So let's say, for example, obviously you fill up English, math, science, and social studies. You take PE and health. There's 5. You don't want to take ag. You don't want to take band and choir. So you get down to these electives. There's going to be 3 questions that look exactly the same. Some of you will not need to get to this point because your schedule will be full by the time you get to this. Some of you that choose not to be in ag, and not to be in music, and not to be in a language will need to get down to this point and pick some electives. But that's why it's going to look the same 3 times, because you're going to have those options. Put 1 in each box. That's just the easiest way that the Google form lets you do it. The very last question that's on there on the Google form is there any additional information that we need to know? We being Mr. Schuster, myself, Mr. Keeper, myself. Special situations, unique course pairings, things like that. In that, if you have a special situation, or if you have a question, or if you have something you don't understand, or if you need more information about it, you can write that in there. And we will get that when you submit it, and then we will help you individually figure out the answer to that question. If you have a general scheduling question, you can always contact myself or Mr. Schuster. Say, hey, what's the deal with this? How does this work? And we'll gladly answer that. But if you have something that's particular to scheduling, we ask that you would put that in that last one.
With your credits earned, is that for like Algebra 1, anybody that's in those advanced classes, or taking from the college?
So if you're already in those high school classes as an 8th grader, the option will still be in the pull downs that you'll see. They're not for many people because of those advanced situations, but they do exist. We really ask that you turn this in by March 4th as best as possible. We ask that because here are the steps that are going to happen. And that is on, what is that, the second page? Page 2. So page 2 of that shows you the process that we go through as counselors and principals to build a schedule. When you guys turn in your requests, what's going to happen is we're going to get this all in one document. And we're going to see that we need 35 students want to take Honors English 9. So we know how many sections of that class we need to build based on how many of you sign up for that class. So from these and from the older students' requests, the 4 of us will build the master schedule. And from that master schedule, we will then input all of your stuff. Hopefully it works out real nice once we get that built. And then that will help spit out the order of your classes that you've signed up for, that you'll have for next year. We're going to have a move-up day at the end of the year where we will bring you over to the high school to run your schedule so you get an idea of where you're going in that building. So that's why we need, so juniors were due last Friday. Sophomores and the freshmen were due the Friday before that. We're asking you as the 8th graders to turn this in by this Friday, and you're the last piece to the puzzle that we need to build this master schedule. Okay? I'm trying to go through a lot of information, and I'm trying to go through a lot of information quickly because I know it's not particularly exciting, and I know it's very dry, but we also know that it's very important, right? Because all of this stuff pertains very much to graduation, to Penna, to going to college, all that type of stuff. So after you leave here tonight, Mr. Keeper and I are going to go back to the office. We're going to send out this presentation. So if there's anything in here that you have questions about or want to see again, we'll send you this presentation. We're also going to give you your teacher recommendation sheets before you leave. If you're online, you can get those tomorrow in the office from Mrs. Rutherford. If you want, also people on YouTube, you can get one of these 5-page packets that the people here have. We're also going to send out the Google Doc. That's the most important thing. We're going to send that to the student email. And we're going to send out those videos about electives from our elective teachers. Okay? So we'll send everything in one neat email. The only thing that you really have to worry about is to please submit the Google form by Friday. It's only, if you do nothing else, that's what you need to do. Okay? And please pay particular close attention to the teacher recommendations as you go through and pick classes. Okay? Let me check my phone to see Mrs. Schuster. I haven't heard from her. Mr. Keeper has something. Mrs. Schuster, wait, question. Mrs. Rutherford, are we missing something pertinent for the moment? Mr. Keeper has a list of questions that have come up from questions online.
Yep.
Okay.
So before we open up to questions here, we'll answer some of the questions that came in online, and maybe they're ones that you have. The first one will be on community service hours. You can start earning those this summer. So if you do something this summer and you get those 16 hours knocked out, you can start pretty much the day you leave the middle school doors. You can.
So in order to get those community service hours, those are very broad. You can't get paid for them. It's not voluntary. But if you go out and you help an elderly neighbor, if you work at the Pemberville Free Fair, if you are a member of Key Club, if you are a member of any group or church organization or anything like that, and you go out and you volunteer your time, we have forms at the high school that all you got to do is grab one. You fill it out and say, I did this and this at this time, and the person that supervises that group signs it for you. You turn it in, you put it in the system, it goes toward your 16 hours. Pretty simple.
And those forms go to the counselor, or if you get them done during the summer, you can turn them in the office, and then Ms. Eden will get them to the counselor. The second came up, and it's already been answered, but if you're a student who's in geometry now, then you would be in Algebra 2 next year. So that might be a situation where you put that in the other category on the form. A change for next year, the school board has approved yearbook also as a fine art credit. So if at some point you're going to take the yearbook class, that would be considered that fine art credit. A question came up about photo 1 and 2. If you're currently in photo 1 and 2 with Mr. Bennett at the high school, that also counts as a high school credit and your fine art credit. So that came on. Study halls. Really want to stress, I know it's new to you guys coming over. You don't have study halls here. The idea on study hall is not a down period or a time to take a nap, but it is an academic time to work on your class or your class is. Particularly a lot of our athletes, you're going to be busy. You got a game until 9 o'clock that night. You're not going to get home late. Use the study hall to your advantage. We see so many kids that don't do that, and they still get behind their class, and even though they have a study hall. So, it's not a social time. It's not time to be on your phone or watching YouTube. We all like to do those things, but that's not the right time. So, study hall being a new option for you guys, please take advantage of it if you're going to take the study hall. For me, I added in, or for Mr. Bennett, I added in, this year we had a great turnout for middle school students in our robotics club. So we've added robotics design and construction, robotics construction and design. It's a semester course that will tie into the best robotics contest. So hopefully we'll eliminate some stress on families and getting kids around. That'll be a first semester class since that contest runs at the beginning of the school year. The recommendation sheets, for those people that are online, they'll be able to get them from Ms. Ruth for tomorrow. We're leaving here tonight. World languages, make sure most people are going to take level 1. Unless you're already in level 1, then you would take level 2 as long as you're successful in that right now. So, and then one other question came up about Penna as a sophomore. If you're really thinking about Penna as a sophomore, just having your head on the slides, you really need to focus on those core credits, get the 4 cores. And then getting PE and health out of the way would also be beneficial to loosen up your schedule when you get over to Penn. Came online, so yes.
There is AA in high school. AA is at the same time as here, from 12:23 to 12:40. Are you guys 46, 48, somewhere in there? But yes, AA as well. To go along with Penna, if you're somebody that eventually wants to go to Penna, you can still play sports. You can still be after school in band. You can't be in band during the school day, obviously, but Mr. Myers works it out that you're a member of the band if you're at Penna. You still graduate from Eastwood High School. Even though you were at Penna, you're still one of our students. So you still fall under the same guidelines for Eastwood when it comes to graduation.
I want to make one comment on the AA, just go back to that. If you're a student, your student may need help, and you're really looking to think about the study hall. AA, we find at the high school, gets tied up so many days with club and activity meetings, or it's only a 20-minute or 23-minute period. So to substitute that in, if your student needs that academic time, may not be great. So really think about that, because we have so many opportunities and activities now that we try to limit it when the coaches and instructors and coordinators can do things. So they all want to get on a Thursday or Friday when we're typically allowed to have those meetings. So that time gets used up really quick. We do a lot of our scheduling meetings and then during the AA time as well. So that time gets eaten up many of the days. Or if we have a 2-hour delay, they don't have it. So a bunch of things like that. So don't rely on that. It's a good resource, but don't rely on that if you need additional time.
Mrs. Schuessler texted me a couple things while we were talking, standing here. Mrs. Schuessler's email and my email we'll put in the email that comes from Mr. Keeper this evening. So if you have a specific question that you don't want to address here, or you think about later this week and you want to send it to us, we'll include our emails in that. Also, if you are somebody that wants to go to Penna as a sophomore, you will have to go through an assessment while you are a freshman. Okay, so we'll get you signed up. We'll get you over to Penna for likely a 1-day assessment, and that will get you on the pathway to go to sophomore or second year of high school. Okay. Mr. Keeper, other things?
We do not
Yeah.
earn any. Now, there's special circumstances we can talk, but generally not. And no athletics. The question was if we have a PE, what do you look like? If you participate in sports or band or other activities, we have PE. We do not have that here. Other schools do offer it, and they would transfer that credit and take it, but we don't have it.
Generally, bigger schools will have it. We just, the size of the school, we just don't have it. Yeah, we just don't. Other questions here? Like I said, we'll send out our email, so if you have questions later, you're welcome to send them to us. Before you go, please make sure that you take your teacher recommendations with you. If your last name starts with A, it's that way, and the alphabet works its way this way down to, looks like S is on this table. So please make sure that you take that. They're all folded, so you can't see other people's information.
Please don't take anybody else's. If they're not here tonight, don't grab it for them. Mr. Weaver will have those and shoot up. They can pick those up tomorrow.
Okay. I thank you very much for coming. Like I said, if you have questions going forward, please send them to us. Yes.
Are these sealed things that they're required to do?
So they all just correlate to these. So each one of these gets its own.